In this video, I'd like to demonstrate how the standard costing in Business Central works. So it works fairly straight out of the box. You just have to do a couple of setups. So what I did for this demo is I created the GL accounts for the raw items and the finished items. I also created the GL for the VIP items. Although in this demo, I'm only going to walk through how a raw item gets converted to finished item, and we can just sell that item. So what we have is the GL accounts for the inventory accounts. We have the COGS accounts for the finished items. So in this demo, we're only going to be showing what happens when you sell a finished item. Then we have the variance accounts for the raw materials for any purchase variances, and also for the finished items, for the manufacturing variances. And then we have these clearance adjustment temporary accounts where, during the posting of the purchase, assembly order, entries are going to end up over here, but they're going to be adding up to zero. So for example, what I did is in Business Central, in the demo that I'm going to be showing on Monday, I have a different company, but I set up this company called PC Sales Standard Cost just to demonstrate how the standard costing works, because the demo on Monday is going to be for the FIFO costing. But I want to make sure that you're convinced that the standard costing works in Business Central straight out of the box. So what I have over here is this shell pasta over here. I have an item that is at a standard cost of $1 per pound. And I'm going to demonstrate when you buy this for $1.10 a pound, that the inventory goes up in value by $10, and then the inventory variance account goes up by $1. So you can track the variance over time. And then your accounts payable goes by $11 because that's what you got to pay your vendor. So let's go through this first, and then we're going to show how the assembly order works. So let's first go through the purchasing ordering process to make sure that you're able to see that the raw item variance cost shows up at the right GL account. So here we have the shell pasta, and if I open this up, you can see that the costing method I'm using is the standard costing method, and the standard cost is $1. And also I'd like to show you if I look at the raw item, you can see that the inventory account is a raw item, and then the raw item variance account is this 50130 account. So these are the two accounts that we're basically going to see that the entries are going to be made into, other than the account payable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a purchase order. And by the way, I just want to show that both of these accounts have zero balances right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put a dummy vendor here. And I'm going to just buy this item from this vendor. And instead of the standard cost, I'm going to buy 10 pounds here. Instead of buying at a standard cost of $1, I'm going to buy it at $1.10. And I'm going to create a warehouse receipt. I'm not using the mobile experience here in this demo because I just want to show the accounting piece of it. So I'm just going to go and put the lot number here. And if I post the receipt and then post the PO, so now if you go back to the GL accounts, what we're expecting to see is that the raw inventory went up by the standard amount of $10, and the variance goes up by $1 because that's the $1 deviation. And then the accounts payable goes up by $11. So let's go and look at the chart of accounts now. And if I look at you can see that the inventory GL went up by $10 and the raw item variance went up by $1. And if you look at the accounts payable, it went up by $11. There you go. All right, so we've proven that the purchasing variance in the standard accounting works very straightforward here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show like a finished item. So I actually created a finished item called shell pasta. It's a very simplistic item. If you look at what is needed to make this item, in order to make 1 ounce packets, we need 1/16 of a pound of this shell pasta. And we need 0.02 hours of labor to do it, valued at $22 an hour. And we track the machine hours, but we're not really putting a cost to it. So the standard cost, the way I calculate it is that you can see that it's 0.0625 pounds times a standard dollar per pound plus $22 an hour times 0.02 hours per hours per piece, essentially. So this is basically, that's how long it actually takes to make this, and that's 0.5025 pieces. So $0.5025 per piece. So if I now go to the standard cost, and that's where the dollar cost is coming from. Actually, this dollar cost value is right here. It's 0.5025. So what we're going to do in this exercise is that we're going to make 150 units of the finished item. And as you can see that the standard cost is 150 times 0.5025. That is going to be $3.375. And what we're going to do is, instead of spending the labor, we're going to overspend on the labor. So instead of spending the standard labor, we're going to be spending a lot more labor. So we're going to be, in order to make 150 units, it probably needs about 9.3 pounds. We're going to show that we're going to spend the 10 pounds. So we're going to show that there's a material overage and also a labor overage. So total cost that we're going to be spending for this production order is going to be $340 versus the standard of $75. So we're going to see that the finished item variance cost is $264 and $64.625 essentially. That's the variance account that we're expecting to see. So when we do this, what we're expecting is that the raw inventory will go to zero, the finished inventory will go to $75.38, and the labor payable, because that is the estimated labor that we have spent, that's going to go to the estimated labor payable, and the finished item variance is going to be that difference of $264.625. That's going to go to the finished item variance account. So let's go ahead and create a assembly order for this. So I'm making 150 units. Okay, so just setting up a few things here. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making a few changes here. Ideally, you're only supposed to be using 9.375 pounds. What I'm going to simulate is that I'm actually going to waste a couple of pounds here. So I'm going to say that I've used up the 110 pounds. So ideal quantity is 9.3 pounds, but the real consumption is going to be 10 pounds. So I'm going to basically consume all the 10 pounds that we have in our inventory. And I'm going to tell it exactly where that is coming from. And then I'm also going to give the lot numbers here. Okay, so we set up our package number, the expiration date, and we're basically saying we're making 150 pieces here. The other thing that I want to also do is, okay, we are overusing we're basically wasting a couple of products. We want to show that that comes under material variance. And also, ideally, we're supposed to use 3 hours, but we're going to be using, let me see, 0.1 hours, I think, 0.1 hours per package. So we're using, like I said, instead of using the standard amount, we're using $330 of labor. So we're going to go ahead and post this. And now what we expect to see in the GL accounts is this guy right here. We're expecting to see that the inventory, raw material inventory, will go down to zero. The finished item inventory will go up by the standard amount of $75.38. And the variance account is going to go up by $264.62 for the finished item variance. And then the estimated labor payable, that's what we expect us to pay on the labor, is going to go up by $330. So let's go check that out. So if I go to the chart of accounts, and if I do a search on this one, we can see that the finished item went up by $75.38. $75.38, that's the standard cost. Then the variance went up by $264.62. And then the estimated payable went up to $330. So if I look at the estimated labor payable, that went up by $330. So that kind of shows that we're able to track the variances into the finished item variance. And then as a last step, we're going to also go ahead and sell the item. And that's pretty standard. So if I go to the sales order and I'm going to sell this item out to a customer like Walmart, I'm going to send this out on the 19th. And then I'm just going to say this is the customer PO number here. And I'm selling 150 units. All right. And we're selling it for $1. So I'm going to create the warehouse shipment for that. And I'm going to ship out. And I'm going to ship out whatever we just made here. Again, all of this process is going to be done through the mobile apps, but I'm just showing this for accounting purposes only. So now if I go ahead and post the shipment, and I'm going to go ahead and post this as well. So now if I go into the GL account, what I'm expecting to see is that the inventory goes down. So this is what I'm expecting to see. I'm expecting to see that we no longer have the raw inventory or the finished inventory. Our COGS for the finished item goes up by $75. So let me go to the chart of accounts. So I can see that we don't, let me actually show here. So we no longer have the raw items or the finished items. We no longer have the raw items or the finished items. And our accounts receivable went up by $150. Our accounts receivable went up by $150. And then our COGS for the finished items went up by $75.38. So if I go down to the COGS section, cost of the finished items went up by $75.38. So there you have it. It's pretty much standard costing in Business Central demo.